What is up, Power Ranger fans? Welcome to Off the Grid, a Power Rangers podcast. I am your host, Jacob Bartley, and this is the show where we talk all things Power Rangers, whether that be in the movies, the comics, the toys, collectibles, anything going on, and especially the television shows as well. We are going to talk all of it here on Off the Grid, a Power Rangers podcast. Now, anybody who's been regularly following, I was releasing episodes on Wednesdays every week for a while, and I just gotta give myself a little bit of flexibility because the new comics come out on Wednesdays typically, and for me to go, I don't get early access to them, so for me to go to the comic book store, get the comic, read it, prepare notes, also prepare notes for anything else that goes into the show, it's kind of hard to do that all in one day. So I'm going to give myself some flexibility to release the episode anywhere between Wednesday and Friday each week. Last week was Friday, this week is Friday. But regardless, we're still going to talk these comics and these television shows. And today, that's what we got going on today. We're going to be talking about Mighty Morphin number 6. And we're going to be talking about Power Rangers Dino Fury episode 7. It's called Stego Search. And that refers to looking for the Black Ranger Zord. And I do want to talk about a few things before we get to those topics. One of them being that if you want to buy some off-the-grid merchandise, you see these cool visuals, these cool logos, you can buy t-shirts, mugs, pillows, a lot of stuff on there, phone cases, laptop cases, on tpublic.com. You can find the link to that in the description here. You can also just search on tpublic.com for those products. And yeah, that'd be really cool. That helps support this channel, helps support the guy who makes the visuals, Jake Berlin. So shout out to him. So please go and check that out. There's really cool, some of the most comfortable t-shirts I've ever worn. So go ahead and check that out. And I also want to talk about something real quick. So I am currently watching all the shows as an adult in chronological order of release. So a few years ago, I started rewatching Mighty Morphin, and all the way up to Lightspeed Rescue, which I had seen as an adult, or which I hadn't seen as an adult. I only saw as a kid, and now I'm continuing that as an adult right now. And most of you may know they took most of the seasons of Power Rangers off of Netflix. Now I could go buy them digitally, like $1.99 per episode. I think I can buy the whole season on Amazon or iTunes for $20. But I got the DVD for S.P.D. on Amazon for $10, and it was same day, 1 day shipping. Got it the next day. So I went ahead and did that, and I started watching S.P.D. just this morning. So S.P.D., Power Rangers S.P.D. Space Patrol Delta is the next season that I'm on. And I just want to give my quick thoughts on the first couple episodes. I like it, honestly. And if you've seen my reactions, basically, ever since Lost Galaxy ended, each season since then has been hit or miss for me. And there's some bad seasons before Lost Galaxy 2. Don't get me wrong. Mighty Morphin Season 3 and Power Rangers Turbo, absolutely terrible. But I'm just saying, I love most of the early seasons. And now, since Lost Galaxy ended, it's been like hit or miss. And I've only really, really liked maybe 3 of them or so. And I like this one so far. It feels different. I didn't know that S.P.D. had to... I knew this, but when I started the show, I wasn't thinking about it, that it's Space Patrol Delta, so it's space-related. Even though they're on Earth, it's still kind of a very futuristic world. There's aliens living on Earth, things like that. So I'm digging it. It gives me... I want to figure out the timeline of, how they... Because it's all in the same world, right? So where is this from in Lost Galaxy when they leave Earth to go find other planets? Where is that compared to this in the timeline compared to Time Force? It's all pretty crazy. And I also didn't know that the Blue Ranger Sky is son of one of the Red Rangers. And so that's pretty cool. My favorite thing about Power Rangers is the mythology and the history. So when they're adding this of one of these Rangers had a dad who was a Power Ranger, it's kind of cool. And it's kind of cool how he was the Blue Ranger, or he becomes the Blue Ranger when he wanted to be the Red. Anyways, let's get into Mighty Morphin number 6. That's what we're going to talk about first. Coming off the issue where we spent a lot of time with Matt as the new Green Ranger, and he is stayed inside the bubble with the humans. He goes back in there, and so this was a highly anticipated issue because, we got the reveal of Matt as the Green Ranger. Then we get this kind of flashback issue, and now this is the story moving forward. So, in these Mighty Morphin issues, they've been doing flashbacks to like 10,000 years ago when Zordon was a guardian and he was out patrolling the galaxy. And this ties in because the bigger looming threat over all of this going on right now is Dark Spectre, which is kind of cool because we got the big main event. The biggest main event so far in Power Rangers comics was the Lord Drakkon in Shattered Grid. And that was a new original character created for the comics. Now we're getting Dark Spectre, they're leading to Dark Spectre being a big event type of thing. He's a character that came from the shows. And so he's not an original character from the comics, which is kind of cool. So yeah, this all seems to be leading to Dark Spectre. And there's just a lot of cool stuff going on because they're tying it all together, right? We got the stuff from the Omega Rangers comics that has Astronema in it. And then we got the Astronema flashback, which ties into Dark Spectre. And these flashbacks tie into Dark Spectre. So it's all intertwined and connected together, kind of like Go-Go and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers line. So I'm digging it. I'm liking it. So Zordon and Zardoz, they're fighting these Hertarians who serve Dark Spectre. And if you remember last issue, Zordon was promoted to is it some higher position in his military, and but he always thought that Zardoz was going to get it, and he tells Zardoz it should have been you, but it's me. And then but they're cool. He's like, look, you were chosen, so let's just not get killed, So and then they see a castle, and it looks like Rita's, but they're on another planet. It says they're on Moon A47 in a different galaxy or whatever. So, and this is 10,000 years ago. So they find a castle. It looks like Rita's castle that's on the moon. So it just leaves it at that. That's interesting. We come to modern day. We got the Rangers fighting putties, and this was really cool. One of the other things I want to touch on is So there's this big bubble over Angel Grove, right? And we see the Rangers fighting putties, and then behind them is the Marines. It's the military. And I always thought, like, if you were going to make a super cool new iteration of Power Rangers, first of all, I've said this for years, that the monster fights, and now I have an example to point to. The Zords fighting the monsters in Power Rangers needs to look like Godzilla versus Kong when Mechagodzilla is fighting Godzilla and Kong. Like, that is the type of cool stuff that you can do with Power Rangers in movies or television, whatever you want to do. Obviously, you're going to need a much higher budget for that. I'm not stupid. I'm aware of that. But I think that is very possible. Another thing is, I always said, make it feel more in the real world. Like, I would have the opening of a Power Rangers movie. They're on a mission out in a foreign country, and they got to stay discreet. And they teleport to this region of this country where there's a war conflict going on, and they bust in, and military people are shooting at their suits with real guns and real bullets, and they're bouncing off them, and they're like kicking guys against the wall, and kind of like, the opening fight scene of Captain America Civil War, something like that, right? Where it feels grounded in the real world. And that's what this reminded me of. of that idea I've always had is of Power Rangers being grounded in the real world when they pull up and they're with the Marines and they're taking down the bubble. So they kind of fail. They can't take it down. And then we see Zordon talking to the Marine general, the general's hologram. And he's saying, look, if we can't get this under control, open this bubble, they're going to nuke it. Because they're saying we're not letting an alien claim American land or whatever. So they're going to nuke the bubble, which would probably kill everybody in it. And now the Rangers are super upset. They've been staying at the command center in bunkers or whatever, and they all miss their family. There's a really cool moment with Rocky, and he's like, did you guys see these bottle caps? And he was saving bottle caps for his little sister, and Kimberly accidentally threw them away. So we get a little bit into the personal lives and what's at stake for them and stuff. And one of the big parts in this issue is when we see Zelia, who's the same species as Zordon, and they're in the command center talking, and they're kind of reminiscing about Eltarian is what they are, about Eltar and these fairs they used to go to and these snacks they used to eat. And we see Zordon laughing, and Zordon's like, well, everybody I know is dead. And she's like, not necessarily. Zardis has been Supreme Guardian for years now, is what she says. And so Zardis is still alive. He's Supreme Guardian now. So that means Zordon's, maybe his family or his friends are still alive as well on Eltar. So that is big. That's tying into the flashbacks. That's giving us some foreshadowing about how maybe we could possibly see Zordon interact with his home planet again and some of the people on there. And she says that they have so much technology and medical stuff has advanced that Eltarians live longer than they used to. So that was pretty cool to see. And I guess Zardis is the one who sent Zelia to look over Earth, and what she calls is supervising. And she tells Billy that, so basically Eltarians go into planets, they supervise them, they look over them, and once they're really advanced and ready, they reveal themselves to that planet. So, and she said that Earth's not even close, but she underestimated them, and maybe they're ready sooner than they think. So that was pretty cool. I like learning about that. And there's a really cool moment with Zelia later on in the comic that we'll talk about. But one other big moment is, so we know Tommy and Kimberly are together, even though Tommy ends up with Catherine according to the Power Rangers television shows. But yeah, unless there's something in the future seasons that I don't know about. So maybe that's the case. But anyways, at this point in time, Tommy and Kimberly are together. And Tommy's like, look, did you know he was the Green Ranger? And apparently he's been asking her about Matt this whole time, asking if she knew that he was the Green Ranger. And she just blows up on him and yells at him. This kind of felt like a real argument, because imagine this, like, if you're in Tommy's shoes and you find out your girl's ex is this Green Ranger that's been, problem for you guys for a while. And of course you would be suspicious that she knew about it. So that was pretty cool to see. I like that. And that was pretty cool. But then the Billy interrupts them and they go in. They got a communication from Grace, but they can't really tell what she's saying. She's saying there's a way to get in. So they go to meet her, and Billy stays behind. And there's putties at the entrance. They start fighting the putties. And then they're like, all right, look, let's get out of here. And Zelia shows up. And she morphs into her Guardian uniform. And it was so cool. I loved seeing that. I was like jaw dropped when I saw that. And she has one of the greatest lines ever in the comics. She says, "You don't need the power to protect you. I will." And I was like, what? That line is epic. And also, it's so epic that Kimberly says, "I'm so stealing that line," which is what she would say. But at this point, so they start fighting the putties, and at this point, there's nothing opening for them. And Tommy, being the leader, he says, all right, we're getting out of here. And Rocky says no. This was big too. Rocky says no. Let's give it a little bit more time. And Tommy says, okay. And we see this is important because this is great storytelling, has narrative purpose, that earlier Rocky was talking about his sister and his siblings that we never knew about before, and the bottle caps and all that stuff. And now we know what his motivation is. It's not just generic, like, of course he has a family in there, like he wants to save them. It's like we know the details about it, which is pretty cool. And eventually some portal does open, and big reveal, we see an army. And, first of all, they get in the bubble and everything looks fine. And Zelia's like, is this what you guys were expecting? And it's just, everything looks perfectly fine. And then an army led by Goldar and the Green Ranger Matt start marching towards the Rangers, and it's an army of half putties, half humans in armor, and Matt is leading them, looking very evil. Well, he's in the green suit, but the way they're just marching towards them and their body language looks like they're ready to attack them. So what is going on? This is crazy. Like, I did not expect for them to go from introducing Matt as the Green Ranger to like, oh, now he's working with Zed. It's going to be some type of brainwash thing. Or what if he turned Goldar and Goldar's good? Just not good, but Goldar's working with him to maybe get out of the bubble or something. And Zed just left him in there. So it could be a situation where they got to work with Goldar and he's commanding the putty army, or somehow they brainwashed the Green Ranger Matt just like they did to Tommy back in the day. So I'm curious to see what happens. I really like this issue. This is really picking up. I'm really like the intro to these first couple issues for each side, for Omega and for Mighty Morphin, was pretty slow, but it's really picking up, and I'm really liking it all around, and especially this issue continued that. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of this issue. I would love to hear your thoughts. I really, really enjoyed it, and because it's giving us cool action, it's giving us story purposes, it's giving us so many different tidbits here and there, whether it's the flashbacks to 10,000 years ago or the little astronomer thing. Like, it's giving us all this stuff, and it's just very satisfying as a Power Rangers fan. All right, to wrap up today's show, we're going to talk a little bit of Power Rangers Dino Fury, episode number 7, titled Stego Search. And like I said before, I haven't loved Power Rangers Dino Fury, but I like it. I think it's okay. Like, I haven't watched Beast Morpher Season 2, but I like Dino Fury more than I like Beast Morphers at this point. So we'll see how it ends up going. So this episode was all about Javi. A few storylines involving him. One where they're trying to find his Zord. He's the last Zord out of these 5 Rangers that they haven't found yet. And how he wants to explore his musician career, but his dad is kind of not letting him. They've talked about that before. And he actually wanted the job at Buzz Blast in order to buy a keytar. And I chuckle every time I hear keytar because it's just a funny name for an instrument. But these things end up tying together too as well. I liked it. I liked this episode. It was cool. Like, I didn't love it, but it was pretty, standard. You choose a ranger, they focus on that story, and it all ties in, and they fight the monsters, and they defeat the monsters, and it was pretty cool. But there's a few key things that we need to talk about here. So Izzy gets knocked out of the fight pretty quick. They basically have to finish the fight without her, and their dad blames Javi for her getting hurt. And earlier in the episode, the monster Boom Tower took one of the sporks and was using it to superpower himself. At first, Void Knight shows up and is mad, but then lets him continue doing so because he could possibly defeat the Rangers. And And then, so we know earlier that Javi was playing the guitar in the park and his dad took it away. And the Rangers see this and now they know what's wrong with him. The whole episode, they're trying to figure out what's wrong with Javi. And then in this scene, once they realize that his guitar was taken away when he was playing in the park, they realize that's when they kind of detected the Zord, is when he was playing. Now, this is kind of, on the surface, this is kind of cheesy to me. Oh, him playing music wakes up the Zord. But where have we seen that before? The Green Ranger with the Dragon Zord. Now, I know that it's very different. He had a weapon, the Dragon Dagger, that goes with the Green Ranger, and it's obviously all connected, the Dragon Zord and the Dragon Dagger. But I won't be lying. I would be lying if I said that like this wasn't like kind of a cool throwback to that. And I do think it's kind of playing on the same idea. Now, he's not using his actual weapon as an instrument, but I do think it's a situation where, okay, he's connected to the morphing grid, he's playing music, his soul's spilling out through the morphing grid, his Zord can sense him playing the music and it wakes it up. And I just think it's kind of the same idea as the Green Ranger, even though it's not exactly the same, you know? So I actually thought that was pretty cool. So he gets his Zord, they fight, Boom Tower, defeat him. And one thing that was weird is, like, we knew Boom Tower was using a Sporix to make him more powerful, but where did the Sporix go? Normally at the end of these episodes, either the Rangers or Void Knight takes the Sporix, and once the Sporix battles and is defeated, it's stronger because it kind of, gets break down and build back up again kind of idea. So it's kind of stronger. But yeah, basically they defeat the monster. Javi gets a new guitar, his friends pitch in and buy him one, and it ends with a big dance party at Buzz Blast, which was just all kinds of awful. And we see J-Borg dancing. I could do without Jane and J-Borg, to be honest, and their rapping and dancing and stuff like that. They are the bulk and skull of this. And when I watched episode 1, I was like, wow, they're not trying to recreate Bulk and Skull, but yeah, they are the Bulk and Skull of this. And like I said, I think this is going to be the last traditional season of Power Rangers, and Hasbro and E1 are going to take it in a little bit more serious direction. So hopefully we'll get some of that. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this episode in the comment section. I would love to hear your thoughts. Like I said, I thought it was okay. I liked it. Like, I like the characters, so I think that's what's keeping me around. But I didn't love this episode. But yeah, I'm curious. If you did love it, let me know. If you're just mediocre on it like myself, let me know. Or if you hated it, I want to hear why. Tell me in the comment section. And yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of Off the Grid of Power Rangers podcast. Thank you all for watching this video. If you like Power Rangers, if you're a big Power Rangers fan, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Right now, I'm just doing one episode a week, but I have big plans for this. We're going to be covering all things movies, comics, like I said, television shows. There's going to be big things coming for Power Rangers here in the future. So please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Until then, may the power protect you.